All right, this is That Just Happened, and this week in That Just Happened, we have a new TV show we're watching. We have a previously released TV show for free on YouTube that we're going through, as well as some live music to discuss, and I think that might be about it, so let's do the thing. Okay, nerds, so let's talk about the TV stuff first, then we'll talk about the music stuff last, shall we? First up, Secrets of the Mogwai, the new Gremlins cartoon. I am having so much fun with this show. I'm almost all the way through this first season. I think I've watched 6 of the episodes, and I believe it's 10 episodes long, though I don't have it in the notes, so don't quote me on that, but something along those lines. I suggested it in the most recent episode of The Week in Nerddom. It was the TV suggestion for the week. I stand by that suggestion, though I do think I should go into that caveat a little bit harder now that we've got the room for it, in that it's a little dark. There's definitely, if you have young children, there are definitely going to be some questions about, Dad, Mom, what does that mean? That might be a little uncomfortable to answer, so be aware, because there's cannibalism that happens in this, there's zombies that happen in this, and yeah, it gets pretty dark, not gonna lie. There's death that has to be dealt with, and so on and so forth, so if you have younger children, that's probably going to be a little bit of an issue. If you have older children, preteen, so on and so forth, into teenagers, this is a lot of fun. This feels like going back to like the Jackie Chan animated series, or the I don't know, there was just a bunch of those random, there's the MC Hammer animated, like it kind of has that feeling. It's 3D animated. It's actually much better written than both of those, but it just gives me that same kind of Saturday morning kind of vibe while you're watching it. So digging that part for sure. And it's a whole hell of a lot of fun. And of course, the Mogwai are adorable, especially Gizmo, because Gizmo. So if you're not watching this and you maybe thought about doing it, I would say do it for sure. You could put it on as background noise. It's not like it's crazy in-depth stuff, so you're not going to be like missing out if you have to work while it's on, or you're cleaning the house or something. It's just a lot of fun just to have on the screen. Then the other TV show that we're talking about, Star Trek Strange New Worlds. I am 4 episodes deep into season 1, because all of the episodes have been put up onto YouTube for free, so I was like, yes please, because I don't have Paramount Plus, but I like Star Trek a lot. And this is the kind of Star Trek that I grew up watching. This isn't anything crazy, like very hyper politicized. Star Trek has always been politicized. I'm not trying to say keep your politics out of my Star Trek, because that's not how Star Trek works. But it feels a lot more generalized with its politics, in that just be a good person kind of politics, and rather than this is the specific way you have to be a good person kind of politics. So that's a hell of a lot of fun. I really dig Anson Mount as Christopher Pike, because this is, I don't know, man, this feels the way I wanted Discovery to feel. This feels like a return to form, to Next Generation, to OG Star Trek even. This is, I wouldn't say it's quite as good as Deep Space Nine, because I don't know that we're ever going to get a Trek series that's that good. Discovery was really good too, but I'm still a Deep Space Nine guy. I would honestly put this at the same level. If this show continues on the path that it's on, I would put this at the same level as Next Generation. And I don't care if you think that's blasphemous. I stand by that statement. So yeah, again, 4 episodes deep, so maybe I'll change my tune by the end of this first season. I don't think that's very likely, though. That's where we're at with that. Let's talk about some live music. So over the course of the last 2 weeks, because it's been that long since we spoke, I went and saw 2 amazing shows. First up was the Blackbraid show. The bill was in order. The bill was Blackbraid, 200 stab wounds, the cattle decapitation. I always want to say cannibal corpse, but it's wrong. Cattle decapitation, and then dark funeral. So Blackbraid, new and upcoming black metal, 200 stab wounds, new and upcoming death metal. Cannibal corpse, again, see, cannibal corpse. Cattle decapitation, well established, well been around forever kind of death metal. And then dark funeral, been around for 30 plus years, kind of black metal. So the bill made sense on paper, made a lot of sense. But when you look at the popularity of these artists, currently, there were more people at this show for Blackbraid, who opened the show, than there were for Dark Funeral, who closed the show. They were the quote-unquote headliners for this Decibel tour. I mean, that alone speaks volumes. Like, there were definitely more people for 200 stab wounds than there were for Blackbraid. I would say the crowd was about even for 200 stab wounds and cattle decapitation, and then a good half of them left when Dark Funeral hit the stage. So I feel like maybe somebody else should have been in charge of putting this bill together, because even just flipping the two final acts, if you had cattle decapitation closing the show, that would have made a little bit more sense. As far as just the general feel of the show, though, it was a lot of fun. I have not been afraid. So I have back injury, so standing near the pit sometimes is a little daunting, and I have not legitimately been afraid of doing that since I got the back injury. And at this show, I was definitely, the pit erupted in a number of times, and it was chaotic and frightening and exhilarating and so much fun. Yeah, so the Blackbraid show, Blackbraid hits the stage, and literally the entire floor just chants Blackbraid. It was just a great show. If you have the opportunity to see, honestly, either Blackbraid or 200 Stab Wounds. 200 Stab Wounds was kind of the surprise of the night. I expected to appreciate them, sure. I did not expect to like them as much as I did. They put on a wicked show. So if you have the opportunity to see either of those bands live, then definitely jump at that chance. Cattle decapitation, sure. The Dark Funeral, skip it. From there, though, the other show that we had this week was Nekrogoblikon. So this one in order, and we're going to talk about this, but the Hunt the Dinosaur, Aether Realm, Inferi, and Nekrogoblikon. That's the way it went. Nekrogoblikon obviously headlining, big show for these guys. It was pretty awesome. Their regular vocalist Nikki is not on this tour. They got the dude from Infant Annihilator, Dickie, to do the screamy vocals, and then they had John Goblikon doing all of the melodic style vocals, and their keyboard player, I think he goes by Raptor, Ripped, whatever. He was also doing some of the melodic vocals as well. So definitely, as far as performance goes, they weren't lacking, but just the lineup again on this show felt so weird, because on this bill, before this night happened, on this bill, I had legitimately heard music and legitimately knew of two of these bands, Hunt the Dinosaur and Nekrogoblikon. And Hunt the Dinosaur opened the show, so that was really weird. And then, like, they also put on a better show, I think, than Aether Realm. Definitely put on a better show than Inferi. I would question whoever put this bill together, because generally the way this works, when you're putting a bill together, in spite of the quality of music, and we've talked about this previously, I believe, on this show, in spite of the quality of music or the whatever, like, aesthetic things might influence, all right, so progressively the sound is going to get heavier if you put this band after this band after this band. So that's the way it should go, because that's kind of like when you're doing a beer dinner for you food nerds, you start with the lighter beers, you end with the heavier beers. It's kind of how music sonically makes sense at a show. You start with the lighter bands, you end with the heavier bands. That's how it would make sense if you were doing it by sound. But that's not the way it's done, because money is a thing. So the way generally it's done is whoever has the most record sales, that determines the lineup. I mean, there's a number of other factors as well. I'm doing the simplified version of it, but usually it's who's making the most money. They're the ones that go last. So Nekrogoblikon obviously is the biggest name on this bill, so they were the headliners. And then I would argue that the other bands were kind of interchangeable. So kind of made sense having Inferi before Nekrogoblikon because they were pretty heavy, but Hunt the Dinosaur opening the show seems a little, it was definitely, felt weird. Aether Realm, while they performed magnificently, I definitely had a lot of fun during their set, it seemed to be a little disjointed. I personally would have probably done, just for the sonics of the night, would have probably went with Aether Realm, and then Inferi, and then Hunt the Dinosaur, and then Nekrogoblikon. But again, I know that's the music I know from the night. So the other half of this, aside from just the weirdness of the lineup, was the sound. And this is I really, being a sound guy, live sound, sometimes it's amazing and sometimes it really makes me want to just tear my ears off. And it got a little bit of both of that for the Nekrogoblikon show. So the way it breaks down in my head is the Blackbraid show, all of those bands have enough money, or at least most of those bands, and maybe the whoever didn't have the money just kind of got in on the pool anyway, because it is what it is, to have a sound guy. So very probably the Dark Funeral Tour had a traveling sound guy that did the sound for everyone. So everyone sounded really good. There were very little audio issues that I had with that night. But 1 week later at Nekrogoblikon, there were a lot of issues, most of them during the Inferi set. A couple of things happened during the Aether Realm set that were rather unprofessional as far as the sound guy's job is concerned, but the biggest issue was Inferi. So what I picture having happened is they didn't have one sound guy. Each band didn't have their own sound guy running their sound. The first three bands, Hunt the Dinosaur, Aether Realm, and Inferi, those three bands had to work with the house sound guy, and then Nekrogoblikon has their own traveling sound guy because they're to a level where they can do such things. This show was supposed to be at a much smaller venue, but they sold out so fast, they opened it up to a bigger venue, and then I believe they got pretty close, but it didn't quite sell out at the larger venue as well. So because of that, that's why I am tending to think that perhaps we got the house sound guy for the first couple of bands, and then the guy that works with the band for Necro, because again, a little behind the scenes stuff when it comes to live music. Each band is louder than the band before them. That is just kind of how a concert goes. So it's not like you don't want people's ears to be bleeding by the end of the night. I mean, some sound guys you would think they do, but general practice in the industry is you just want each band to be a little bit louder than the band before them overall. And so that generally means different things as far as the way you have to mix and do certain things, but usually you can set it so that you're just moving the house main volume up just slightly from one band to the next, and you can keep the mix roughly where it is, as far as like where the guitars and the drums and the bass and all that stuff lays. I don't think that's what was happening with this night at Nekrogoblikon, because it sounded like there were compression issues, because we got a lot of unnecessary feedback. There were gain issues as far as like the sounds on stage happening. The vocals did not go up in equal dynamic to the rest of the instruments. The guitars, it sounded like, went up exponentially more than everything else, except for maybe the kick drum, in which case there were honestly some ducking issues that we've again talked about previously on the channel. So there was audio ducking going on stage, and this was mostly during the Inferi set. The issues that they had during the Aetherum set was just the sound guy didn't have the lead guitar sound in the house. He only had it on stage for about 3 songs. So it was just a disappointing night as far as general sound quality went. Hunt the Dinosaur's sound was fine. They were the first band, so the sound guy wasn't trying to blow our ears off, and they performed very well. Words are escaping my knowledge. Yeah, they performed rather well. Aetherum dudes performed pretty well as well, just not 100% my style. It's a little more proggy, a little more Euro, with a touch of death metal thrown in. Inferi, I honestly, even if they didn't have the sound issues that they had, I wouldn't dig them. Just not, I don't know, just I feel like they're phoning it in a little bit. They're just riding a trend to some degree, and that's going to piss somebody off, I know, but whatever. Nekrogoblikon, though, a hell of a lot of fun. Even missing their regular vocalist, they made up for it. They did all of the stuff, and they had fun on stage, which meant everyone out in the crowd had fun as well. So it was absolutely, if you can see any of these bands live, I would definitely recommend Hunt the Dinosaur and Nekrogoblikon, which is kind of how I expected the night to go anyway. Aetherum was the surprise of the night. They performed very well. Whether or not I would honestly pay like for an album of theirs is kind of a different story, but I wouldn't turn them off if they got played on Liquid Metal or whatever like that. They're fun. It's some sing-along choruses and some big soaring guitar riffs, and I don't know, I just feel like it's still not quite my style. That though is what just happened. Coming up, we don't have concert plans for some time, so I don't know. I'm gonna have to find some new series or something. Let's leave that one open for the comment section. What should we be looking forward to in That Just Happened, movie-wise, TV-wise, books-wise even? I hopefully can set aside some time to read again. Yeah, that's what we got, nerds. So what happened for you this week? Let's have that conversation down in the comment section for sure. And then, you know, we create the feedback loop. I start talking about when you leave comments, we talk about it on the shout out show. And then I say the things that we did and you say the things that you did, and there we go. That's the feedback loop. Yeah, so thank you very much, nerds, for tuning in. Let me know what happened for you. We will have the conversation and do all of the things and create this community that we've been trying to create, and we'll see you next time. Before we go, though, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here, and that just happened.